What's the biggest weapon Haarhuis has?
His backhand down the line. Very effective. Jimmy's going to try to keep the ball low to him.
I think the first game, Vitas, of any match, if you're serving, especially at night, is really a tough one to play.
Well, that's a pretty good start for Haarhuis. He breaks serve at love to begin the match. Giving Haarhuis a check on ground strokes has to be a moral victory for him. You're putting him up against Connors.
Jimmy's going to try to move Haarhuis around. He's a tall, lanky player. Doesn't like to hit low balls. Jimmy will try to go behind him quite a bit tonight. And I don't think the start is quite as important for Connors as it is for most players, because he certainly has not started well in almost all of his matches here at the Open.
There's that backhand down the line you talked about, Vitas. That is a strong shot from Haarhuis.
He was down 2 sets of love against Patrick McEnroe. Had an easier time against Michael Schappers, Novacek, and then he was down 5-2 in the 5th against Krickstein in the 5th. Paul Haarhuis has earned his way into the quarterfinals, beat Yellen, Chesnikov in 4. Then the upset over Becker, who had a leg injury, and Karl-Uwe Stieb, very tough player from Germany. So he's earned his right here in the quarterfinals against Connors.
Haarhuis holds, and he leads 2-love in the first.
And Haarhuis has some other good wins. He beat Ivan Isavic at the French Championships this year. That's a real good win for him. He also has a win over Emilio Sanchez at Estoril. So not just here at the Open that he plays well, he's had some other good wins. Vitas, you think there's any reverse psychology? 20,000 people out here all just dying to see Connors do great, and Jimmy under a bit of pressure to perform tonight. What do you think?
I think he felt the same way, though, against Krickstein. Sure, he knows that this is his crowd. They're all expecting him to do really well, but it's not the first time he's ever felt pressure. After all the Grand Slam championships he's been in, that's the play he used so effectively against Aaron Krickstein. He tries to pin you deep, gets the short ball, punishes it, and then takes the advantage, comes into the net, and knocks off the volley.
And watch how he takes his extra step here and then moves his body weight into it. He kind of lunges at the ball, puts everything he has into that high volley.
He may have lost a half a step over the years, but his footwork may still be the best in the game.
Already to the towel. Nobody uses that time in between points better than Jimmy Connors.
Boy, Haarhuis made an outstanding return there, and he breaks again for 3-love. Watch the expense reports, guys, when Barkan puts those, he turns in those Thursday vouchers.
I didn't know his dad was in town.
How would you compare this start to Connors' previous starts?
Well, it's very similar to the Aaron Krickstein start. He gets a little bit too charged up, too pumped up, starts to hit a little bit long, rushes the points, and then eventually he finds a groove, finds a pace. And that's the beauty of 3 out of 5 sets, Barry, that you have time to play yourself into form, whereas 2 out of 3 sets, things could be over awfully quick.
The other thing about Haarhuis, he really doesn't give you a target. I mean, Jimmy does like a target, although he didn't have it with Krickstein, but there are players that he loves to play. This guy does not give him much of a target because he doesn't come in behind the ball that much.
And the difference between this match and the Krickstein match is Haarhuis has been well coached. He's not staying back, letting Jimmy try to find form. He's starting to be a lot more aggressive. Hit balls, try to give Connors no openings to get into a groove.
You just saw Jimmy go over and change rackets.
As in any sporting event where the home team, or in this case the home player, gets off to a slow start, the crowd looks for ways to get involved.
15.
You know, in some ways, too, if you're winning as easily as Haarhuis is at this point, you almost feel like if you dropped a game, it wouldn't be too bad, because you're always saying to yourself, when is this guy going to come to life? I mean, you know he's not just going to be this bad all the time.
Haarhuis has been very offensive off the ground, really hitting the corners. A good shot here. He drives the ball deep into the corners. Little drop volley. Jimmy tries to get it, hustles in. Cannot reach it.
Haarhuis is not what you'd call a natural looking volleyer. I mean, he missed a fairly easy volley earlier, and even on that one, what you call a real natural looking shot.
Jimmy loves to keep the ball deep, hitting at 3/4 speed, always looking for the opening. Great footwork, gets back to the middle, anticipating the next shot. Then he sees his opening, the short ball, tries to punish it with the backhand.
It's the best two-hander he's hit so far. He really moved into that well. Hits now what looks to be a little bit too deep a volley. Connors on the full run, sweeps over it. But again, Haarhuis, as we look from another angle, Vitas.
He really hustled in. This time he anticipated the drop shot, held the ball on his racket, and then just flicked it cross court.
Missed what looked to be a sitter, and Connors is on the board. Connors heading right where he likes to have his opponent, up a set.
You know, we talked about guys going wide for balls and not coming back. You knew Connors wasn't coming back when he went for that one forehand cross court. Those of us that know how to go one direction and not put on the brakes are familiar with that shot.
Jimmy shuffling his feet, getting in great position, never gets stuck, and just drives through that ball. Beautiful flat shot.
Venus, you think he hits the two-hander down the line better than he does cross court?
Well, he hit that angle cross court, but I think he likes to poke the one down the line and come in.
Yeah.
A lot more than he would off the cross court. Jimmy likes to play to a pattern. He doesn't often like to change the direction of the ball. If you hit cross court to him, he'll go back cross court till he gets an easier shot, then he'll change the direction. But normally that's a more offensive shot.
Look at Arthur Ashe. Stands.
Haarhuis got out of the firing line there.
I mean, you like to dodge balls that are going long, but you don't want to kill yourself in the process. Watch it now as Haarhuis comes in on this shot. Watch the forehand. He really nails it. Now Jimmy goes for it. Haarhuis trying to duck the ball. Sprains his left knee. Another full swing. Now watch.
He slipped.
No, actually, he fell. I beg your pardon. I thought maybe he was trying to duck it, but he actually slipped.
Has a few early welts to show for it, but he's up 5-1 here in the first.
Those look like Boris Becker shins to me.
Jimmy's slicing down on this ball, trying to get across court. Haarhuis made up his mind to go down the line. Saw Jimmy giving him a lot of room. Very accurate.
Gotta say one thing, Vitas. When he commits himself from the baseline, he goes ahead and hits out. Both sides.
Well, Brian Williams and Artie Kempner, our producer and director, have found the Haarhuis fan club. His coach is not here, Hank Van Holst. One of his coaches, his other coach, Alex Reinders, is here.
So you'd have to say the crowd count is about 20,480 for Connors, 3 for Haarhuis. It's kind of tough. Chair.
I think Jimmy forgot what the score was. That's why he's laughing.
We're both laughing now. I hope that continues. is the best rally of the match so far. Connors, tremendous power from the baseline, back to the center, racket back early again.
Haarhuis has definitely come to play. He was running down balls corner to corner, then finally Jimmy just nailed one on the line.
Well, Connors holds. It was a struggle. And it's 5-2 Haarhuis in the first. His overhead is out. Haarhuis has only lost 3 points thus far on his serve. Well, the first opportunity arises for the crowd to really become a factor as Connors has 2 break points.
Welcome to Jimmy Connors land.
From the other angle, let's watch the point.
Haarhuis just gets his racket on that ball. Connors continues to press. Very close ball on the baseline, and then Jimmy just eases it in to that open court.
How long does it take Connors to play into a match at this stage of his career? Does it take longer?
He certainly has been taking his sweet time this week. That's a play I think you'll see Jimmy use a lot more tonight. Gets the short ball and will hit behind Paul Haarhuis. Mobility is not one of his strengths. That time he caught him.
Well, he's 6'3", very lanky. It's tough for him to change directions. John Lloyd, who has been warming up with Jimmy almost every day.
They played together on the Los Angeles team tennis team this summer.
And the ball staying very low as Connors comes under it almost every time from that backcourt.
Also, Paul Haarhuis takes a much bigger swing on the forehand side. Jimmy's trying to play a lot more balls to the forehand. Paul being a lot more compact off the backhand side.
Haarhuis still up a break. Connors at 30-15. Holds. Haarhuis will have one more shot at serving for the first set.
Unfortunately, yes. A couple of years ago at the Open, he played a fantastic match against me and eliminated me. I think, Vitas, this is a very big game, actually, for Paul Haarhuis, because it's interesting. This is a typical Jimmy Connors set, the way I've seen it so far. He's come out a little bit slow the first couple games, testing himself physically to see how he feels. I think he got, obviously, a lot farther behind than he would have liked to in this set. But I noticed that in the last couple games, Haarhuis seems to have gotten tentative on his shots. And if Jimmy can get back in this set now, he could possibly win this match in 3 straight sets, I believe.
John, it looks like Paul Haarhuis has stepped back from the baseline. Before he was standing very close to the baseline, being a lot more aggressive with the ground strokes. Now he's backed off, just trying to get the balls into play. That's sort of what Crixtine was doing against Jimmy.
I can't remember the last time he's come to net. It's been 3 or 4 games, and he's significantly more tentative than he was at 5-1 or 5-2. As I was saying.
John, is there any difference between the Haarhuis that you played here 2 years ago and tonight's Haarhuis?
That's hard to say right now, but I think time will tell. I don't think, with all due respect to my match, this is the biggest match of Paul Haarhuis' career right now. If he wins this match and advances to a Grand Slam semifinal, that's going to put him up a level in terms of his confidence and respect he has with the other players. As you said earlier, Vitas, Haarhuis has come to play, but Jimmy's shown him at this moment that he's come to play as well. And this is, as I said earlier, it's a very big game actually for Haarhuis. This could really turn the other direction quickly, I believe, if he loses this game.
Connors can't believe it's called good.
That looked to me to be a tremendous forehand from Paul Haarhuis, in all honesty. That's
Pretty gutsy shot at deuce.
very gutsy.
And I don't think we'll be able to tell where it landed on the replay. That ball was hit awfully hard.
Looked in on it from this angle. I don't mean to help out the umpires here.
No, the volley long, and the set to Haarhuis. And if one shot could have made it for Haarhuis, it was that forehand at 30-all.
And John, we've looked at a ton of replays over the last 10 days up here, and rarely does a replay clearly show what it was. But to me, that looked like it was a good shot.
That looked like it, and it just, sometimes you have a gut feeling. It sounds sort of funny, but that one looked in from up here. It really did. I think Jimmy needs to forget about it right away, because he certainly doesn't want to get down a break in this set.
You wouldn't call Haarhuis a natural volleyer, would you, John? The way he gets up there?
No, he isn't a natural volleyer, and what's interesting is so many players now playing with these Western grips, and with the court so fast and being able to take full swings like they are is amazing. That's what I find most amazing right now. Guys like Courier, Stitch, Lendo, we know about from past history. Haarhuis taking the ball way back behind the baseline and taking big whacks at the ball. I know that Vitas and myself dream about hitting shots like that. Oh, shit. Are you kidding, buddy? Barry, you probably dream about it, too.
Absolutely. You got it.
I'm glad you said that, John.
Well, Jimmy's been talking to Vitas up here, John, on this private camera in that corner. So if he knows you're up here, we might really get some interesting comments.
Connors plays a great point, and he holds a serve to begin the second set.
Sure, we feel good or bad about seeing that. The way these guys are hitting it.
Haarhuis got there for 30 love.
Good anticipation by Paul Haarhuis. Yeah. Jimmy hits the delicate drop shot, but he already started running in and had the down the line, just pushed it in there.
talked about his backhand down the line. I'll tell you what, he has hit a couple of big forehands, including this one right here. Racket back early, and he just belts it. There's that grip John talked about. Exaggerated Western grip. Man, that's a big swing.
You have to give Haarhuis credit right at the moment because he's doing what he needs to do to try to get back on top. He's hitting the ball with some more pace. And it would be very important for him to win a few more points off his serve. A couple points back when we saw Haarhuis run down that drop volley that Jimmy hit. I think that's an example of Jimmy showing his age a little bit, and I think he should try to disguise that a little more, because I think what he did was he didn't make the extra effort to move over to that ball, and by doing that, Haarhuis could tell right away that he was hitting that drop shot. And I think that he's certainly fit enough. He's proven that he needs to eliminate those couple of mistakes, and that's how he could take the initiative a little more. I think he gave that point away in essence. And now Haarhuis is getting more confident, and I think part of it is related to that.
And I don't think Paul Haarhuis, given the occasion today, will he fold. If he gets a lead on Jimmy, I think he'll keep tacking it on. He's seen enough of what's happened in the previous 2 weeks with Jimmy's matches.
A beautiful night in New York City, and Jimmy Connors on center stage.
Well, you know, Jimmy's not going to fold either. So he's going to do what he thinks is necessary in order to get on top in this match. And I'd like to say this is a key set, but he's played so many 5-set matches, I'm not sure it is.
It's kind of tough to pick what is a key set for Jimmy.
A look at some of the champs. Jimmy down there with 5 wins. John, you had 4. Not too bad. You think you'll get a 5th one of these days?
No comment. Let's keep on this match right now. I heard they're moving it to clay, so that could help my chances.
Connors hold for on serve in the second set. Haarhuis won the first. This night, John was down on the court playing David Wheaton. And I believe your brother Patrick was up here with us.
That's true.
Yeah, he was ordered to say a couple nice things.
You said you had hands of gold, John. I remember that day.
Oh, that's nice. Nice brother.
Wow. We'll label that tennis esoterica. It starts a little better for Connors in this set. Just 2 unforced errors the first 3 games. 10 in the first 3 of the first set.
It's going to be very interesting to see how fit Paul Haarhuis is. I think that's going to be a very key aspect to this match.
Well, Jimmy's making him run, especially on that last point. He made a good get to throw up a lob, but Jimmy, with good footwork, leaps up and hits the overhead down the line.
John,
let me just add one thing to what Vita said earlier. He mentioned Haarhuis' lack of mobility. And I think that last point was an example of that. I'm not sure, though, if it was the lack of mobility or the conditioning aspect of that point that lost him that point. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that regard. Unless he continues to do that.
first ace. And it's 40-15.
John, you played Jimmy so many big matches. What's the toughest thing about playing against Connors from your standpoint?
So many tough things about it. It's hard to mention one thing. The fact that he just keeps coming at you. You know the fact that he'll try to the very last point. And also the fact that you know that has such a great ability to work with the crowd, to take full advantage of the 25-second clock. I mean, his 25-second clock's about 1.5 minutes now. But it still counts to 25. On the clock down in the court. I don't know how he does it.
It's those batteries that are dying.
Throughout Jimmy's career, he was really never that comfortable up at the net, but during this tournament, he's been taking that short ball, hitting it hard, and coming into net a lot more. That's what won in the match against Krickstein. Kept a lot of balls in, and when he had the opportunity in the 5th set, especially in the tiebreaker, he put the pressure on his opponent.
Vitas, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I honestly don't believe he's ever volleyed better.
No, you're 100%
right
correct. And we've both played him quite a few times, and when he beat you, he really beat you from the baseline and with his consistency.
Actually, Barry, I thought about what you said, and I realized there is one thing you could say about Jimmy, and that is his return to serve is probably, to me, the greatest in the history of the game.
When you played him, John, in other words, no matter where you served, you were always a little concerned.
I always felt like he had a shot at that ball. No matter where I hit it, I always had to make sure I was ready for the volley.
And the thing I found amazing about his return, John, is that he anticipates a lot on the return. He actually guesses where you're trying to serve the ball. The times that you catch him guessing, you realize how much space he takes away from you on the return.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's a pretty shot.
And I think he got away with a little something there because he really mishit that ball slightly. Watch it now as Jimmy comes in, wraps over the ball. Haarhuis with a topspin lob. Perfect shot. But from up here.
I'd like to hit miss-hit shots like that if I could, believe me.
But that's the advantage of having the 2 hands on that side, John. You could just disguise a lot more. You could go from a passing shot to a topspin lob.
And Connors Connors puts the game away. And we stay on serve in the second set. If he plays fast.
You know, that was funny because you said that, John, the other day. You said, I got to go play some doubles. I'll be back for the 5th. And I think you might have been.
I could have been. I was just, we lost that match, so I was a little disappointed, but I did get back for the end of it.
Connors with 109 singles titles, and Haarhuis still looking for his first one.
I think it goes without saying that the most misleading stat there was Jimmy's current ranking.
And it's funny, Jimmy has said a couple of times this year that number's bugged him.
It would bug me too. I know he's got a lot of pride, and he has no intention of staying in that area. He'll do everything within his power. Obviously, he's already made a big dent in that already by getting to the quarterfinals and possibly even farther here.
John, you made a statement a minute ago. I want to go back to. You said you thought fitness and conditioning would be a question for Haarhuis, and tonight most people would say, "Boy, is that a question for Connors?"
Well, I think it's a question for both players, but I honestly believe it's more of a question for Haarhuis because Jimmy's got the ability to run players more than any other player that I've ever seen to this point. That may change in the next few years because players are hitting the ball so hard and working so hard for points, but. Nerves and tension play a big part in fitness. And this match, I don't think, I know that Haarhuis has never been in a match as big as this one to this point. So that's gonna drain him to some extent, especially if it gets to a lot of tight points and he, say, has leads like he did in the first set and loses them. I'm sure that even being up 5-1 in the first and struggling a bit to win that set 6-4, it took a little something out of him. Obviously, Jimmy's played a couple 5-set matches, is 39 years old. So there's no question that to a certain degree the fitness is a key to this match and with him as well. But we'll just have to wait and see. We got plenty of time to determine that.
I've seen them before.
I think it was Don Bugs that said that the 7th game of the set is always maybe the key game of the set, and I think in this case he may be right because this is a huge game for both players.
Professor.
I suppose I should add that in case there's a couple people out there that don't know who Don Budge was, that he was our first male Grand Slam winner back in 1938. I think he beat Barry McKay in one of those finals.
Barry gave him a few
Thanks
tips.
a lot.
Barry had already retired.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's getting rough up there.
People are getting warmed up now. Tell you one thing I've never seen in tennis matches before that we've seen during this opener, people high-fiving, jumping, swapping those high fives, which they did Sunday when Connors pulled out the match.
Can we find out who started that? Because that's a pretty recent phenomena, isn't it, the high five?
I've never seen it before at the Open. I've never seen the bow. They were
Well,
using for Jimmy.
But the high five is wonderful for adults and children alike. Whoever did should be given a lot of credit. The bow I'm going to reserve judgment on, Vitas.
Connors held in that 7th game. And we stay on serve. 4-3 Connors, second set. It's nice to hear contemporary players who appreciate the history of the sport. That's missing in too many sports today.
I think we're going to be seeing some pumping fists very shortly, Vitas.
Had no conversations with Vitas yet. A little slow on that count tonight.
We have a long evening left.
Dan Rather here, sitting in front of Neil Pilson, the president of CBS Sports. Second ace.
John, don't you see that a lot more often now? With the new technology, you seem to be getting close to breaking a serve, and all of a sudden, boom, these guys put in 2 big serves, a couple of aces. It seems to be so much more power, especially in the serving part of the game.
That and the fact that the players are bigger and fitter. Train more off the court as well as on the court. Not to take anything away from the players of the past. They trained quite hard, but they didn't have the technology available to them as well. And now people are taking full advantage of it. And I'm sure the average tennis player has gone up 2 or 3 inches in height in the past 10 years, without question.
But we're a lot prettier, though.
We look a lot better. They're taller, hit the ball harder, and kick our butts.
Well, that's a minor oversight.
It's 4-all.
Here's an exception to the rule, though. A living legend in the truest sense of the word.
John, do you think anybody will touch his 109 singles titles?
I wouldn't think so, based on what I see today. I would really surprise me, but I suppose stranger things have happened.
You know, it's amazing when you look back. He won 15 tournaments in '74. Very few guys win 15 tournaments these days. Of course, obviously, John, the competition a bit different than it is today.
It's quite a bit more depth. There's no question about that. But he was on a roll in '74. He looked untouchable. From what I remember, he was beating players badly at that time.
Great second effort. He just leaps up in the air, and he saw where the ball was coming, just couldn't see it well enough late.
I think the biggest change for Jimmy from his earlier days is that a lot more guys are hitting the ball as hard as him. I know when I came up in '77, he was the hardest hitter in the game. And it wasn't until Lendl came along that someone hit the ball as hard as him. Now all of a sudden you see Lendl on the defensive and Connors. It's incredible to see.
Well, you got to say these are some critical points coming up here for Connors.
That was a loose point by Jimmy. He's really got to cut these out right now.
Crowd senses it. We're at 4-all, second set.
Segura, one of the all-time great professionals, used to call him Sneaky.
Connors is going to have to be to get out of this.
What the hell you think I'm doing?
Well, if that line didn't help him for this game, it probably will for the next one. So he's setting himself up now.
Breaks and will serve for the second set when we return. And he's hoping that this Open can take him to a semifinal, but right now he is being tested as Paul Haarhuis serves for the second set. What's hard to figure out, here's Connors, the great returner, and he has only won 12 points in this entire match, has Connors, on Haarhuis' serve.
It doesn't seem to me like he's returning that badly. He's just gotten extremely loose the last few games off his forehand, I feel.
What happens to the forehand, John? Jimmy's forehand when he misses it like that?
Obviously, his margin for error isn't that great, but I'm very surprised that he's playing, missing the shots that he is, to be perfectly honest. He seems to be catching the ball late on some shots and overhitting simply.
I mean, you hardly ever see Jimmy hit long. You almost always see him hit into the tape on the forehand side.
Everyone always talks about that slice forehand that he misses, but he hasn't missed that today. I'll tell you right now, Haarhuis is really playing well, though. He's picked up the pace off his serve. He's more solid off the ground, hitting with more confidence. And he's just come in that few times, just enough to make Jimmy think about it a little bit. Now that is a Jimmy Connors return. 30-15, I'm sure Haarhuis was praying that ball went out.
$30-all.
Just when you thought it was safe, Jimmy Connors comes up with his second big return of the game. Just punches it down the line, anticipated the wide serve.
Break point.
Anticipates so well at this point. He gets a couple of those lobs back, way up in the air. Then he finally sees his opening. He drives the forehand cross court.
Watch it now in the full run. Connors up the line. He catches Haarhuis.
Does it remind you a little bit of center court at Wimbledon?
Unbelievable point. Unbelievable point.
5-all, second set.
I've got to say, though, I'm very surprised Haarhuis hit 3 straight overheads in the air. Didn't let the ball bounce. That was a huge risk. Vitas, why do you suppose he let that hit that ball in the air?
I can see him hitting the first one in the air, but as they were getting deeper and deeper, especially the last one, especially at night, you'd want to let him bounce, set up a little bit better. And even from that position, I think it would have been very difficult for him to put it away.
Plus, when you let it bounce, the other guy has to make a move.
Exactly.
Gives you a chance to have a look at him.
5-8.
Another look at it here. The topspin lob by Haarhuis. Jimmy comes in, takes it on the full, and now he tries another one up the line, but this is going to go wide.
I wonder if Haarhuis tried that shot by design or not, that particular play, because Jimmy's known to come in and hit that in the air, that shot. And I wonder if he did that on purpose to see to tempt Jimmy into making a mistake. Personally, I don't think that's the way to go for him. Every now and then, perhaps, but I feel like he got a little tentative there, probably.
John, it seems like Jimmy's starting to control the points again. He's making Paul Haarhuis run all over the court.
It's amazing how fast things change. It really is. The only thing I'm surprised about at this point is why Haarhuis isn't playing his forehand a little bit more. because Jimmy has been erratic the last couple games off the forehand, and it seems like he's sort of stayed away from that. I think the reality of it is that Haarhuis is probably quite nervous at this point, and he's quite upset that he lost that second set and serving for it. So those two things combined, he's not thinking clearly, as clearly as he was even last game.
Connor's first double fault, still has a game point for 6-5. In the second. Now Haarhuis has gone from serving for the set to serving to stay in the set.
That was a great volley by Paul Haarhuis right there. It's like you said, Barry, he's not a natural volleyer, but he sure got the job done on that point. That was a beautiful touch.
Because Connors had hit a great off shot on that baby.
That was a big point for Paul.
Third ace.
He didn't want to get down love 15 or love 30 with the crowd just itching to get into this. I think that's an example of how great a returner Jimmy is. Haarhuis wasn't even expecting that ball to come back.
Game on.
And Haarhuis holds at love, and the second set will go to a tiebreak.
Well, we were at the same point in the Krickstein match, and that tiebreaker turned around that match. If Jimmy had lost the second set against Aaron, he would have had a tough time winning that match.
We'll see the tiebreak records. Connors will serve first.
I think we should thank the late Jimmy Van Allen for inventing the tiebreaker system, because it certainly added an interesting element to the game. You can cut the tension with a knife right now.
Haarhuis forehand. It's 2-1 Connors.
He really unloads on this one. Big backswing, and he just steps into it with that extreme Western grip up and over the ball.
Jimmy does not want to give him the time to do that. That's for sure.
You think guys take more chances in tie breaks, John?
It's really hard to say. I mean, I was thinking about it as I was saying it. Does it favor the better player? Does it favor the serve volley? Does it favor the big hitter? There's so many intangibles. It's hard to really know. I really don't know. It depends on so many factors. That's what makes it so interesting.
Now we're back even at 2-all. Connors serving one more.
Watch this now, because Connors ends up hitting what was really not an easy overhead. This ball starts to float long. Jimmy back quickly. He's well behind the service line and knocks it off behind Haarhuis.
That was an example of a lob that I think he made the correct play on. Because if he didn't hit that one on the fly, he would have had to let that bounce and probably hit a backhand and gotten back into defensive posture. So he made the right move there to do that. Haarhuis's overheads were quite a bit shorter.
Change ends at 3-all. It is a fascinating point about the tiebreak, John, and the fact that it is impossible to get any kind of a track record or a form on who it would favor. Certainly, you would think there'd be more pressure on Connors here because he needs this.
I'm not sure that I can even say that he does at this point, because he's been down 2 sets with my brother and a break in the third. I think we should get our stat man Leo Levin involved and find out the career tiebreak leader. A very tight point there from Paul Haarhuis. If he had been up 4-3, he probably could have taken a much bigger chance on, say, a return or a ground stroke in this round. Now he's going to be probably more tentative because he's down a break in the serve. And this is where Jimmy's going to try to pounce on him. We should never underestimate how important it is to get a first serve in a situation like that one. Put the pressure on immediately.
Set points for Connors.
We've heard a few roars this week, but I think we're ready for the biggest if he wins this point.
and so is Connors.
Played against Charlie Passerelle, the longest match, that two-day match at Wimbledon. He was 42.
Think about what it means for a player age 39 to be here. It means winning 4 straight matches. That's what Connors has done. So has Haarhuis. And Haarhuis had never before won 4 straight matches in a tournament in his professional career until this U.S. Open.
Think what it means to him to get to the semifinals of the U.S. Open. I mean, Jimmy's won 5 U.S. Open titles and countless other ones, as Barry mentioned. This is what players dream about.
Five aces now for Haarhuis. Strong start here in the 3rd set.
And John, a Grand Slam, different mindset. You got to win 7 matches over 2 weeks. Entirely different, isn't it, from a regular tournament?
Without question. Best of 5, 7 matches, with all the different things that can happen in the tournament. It's why it's so tough to win them.
Everybody talks about the second week being so different from the first. Do you agree with that in a Grand Slam?
Let me answer that after this point. I think, Barry, this one may be the most different because depending on scheduling, you could play 4 matches in 7 days, I believe. Then you wouldn't play until Wednesday, say a Sunday to Wednesday, and then have to come back and play Saturday and Sunday.
Haarhuis with some errors, and the game goes to deuce.
Moves so well, always on his toes, keeps shuffling those feet. He never gets caught flat-footed, always getting back to the middle, trying to get into position. Now Paul Haarhuis is letting Jimmy Connors dictate the pace of the match. Jimmy's making him run all over the court, and Haarhuis is even starting to hit a one-handed backhand, which is definitely not one of his strongest shots.
First game, 3rd set. We're even at a set apiece.
Unfortunately for Jimmy, I don't think the scheduling is going to favor him either because he has to play a Thursday night match. And then he's got to play one of the fittest players on the tour, Jim Courier, on Saturday, who's playing the best tennis of his life. And then if he was able to get by that somehow, he'd have to come back the next day and play either Lendl or Edberg, who are 2 fairly fit players themselves. So it would truly be a Connors miracle if he was able to win this U.S. Open.
Not just a Connors miracle, it would be a miracle.
It might be a miracle, yeah.
served at break point and held his serve.
Well, I understand he's going to invite Jimmy to play an exhibition in Holland, so I don't know.
How did you, last question, how did you do against Barry McKay? How did Barry McKay do against you?
Brian or Barry McKay?
Barry McKay.
I never played Barry because I was a little older than he was, so I never played Barry, but he was certainly a marvelous player.
There you go. Barry, up to you.
It's very kind of Don Budge to fib a little bit.
I think there's a little payola somewhere.
A true gentleman.
Connors had to be a little disappointed. He had a break point in the first game. Haarhuis came back to hold. Now serving at 30 love.
Great forehand on the run by Jimmy Connors. Textbook. I'm not sure what Paul Haarhuis is thinking, and I'm not sure he knows at this point because he's very confused at this moment.
Do you sense that by the shots he's hitting or by the way he's hitting them? Both?
Well, I just sense it, and I sense it because he served for the second set and lost it. Then he comes out in the third set, wants to start strong, gets up 40 love on his serve, almost loses that game. He's not sure what end is up right now in a certain sense, but it's like Vita said earlier. He's obviously come to play. He's playing quite well. He's doing a lot of good things, but he seems to be like this is a prime time where Jimmy might be able to take advantage of him. He doesn't seem settled right now. And I honestly, to be honest, I don't blame him. I mean, he served for the second set. He could even have won the tiebreaker, and he's obviously a little bit upset with himself. No comment.
Get a little entertainment with your tennis at the Open.
Oh, we saw that on the replay.
Little sleight of hand.
Amazing what replays will do.
Better that than the alternative.
Better for him, not for us. We'd love to see that type of stuff up here. Boy, it was like I was saying the other day, Vitas. It's sure a lot easier up here, isn't it?
Oh, much. Because I
don't think I would have missed the ball the whole match if I stood up here.
John, you know what's amazing up here? The umpires are always right.
Well, I'm going to let Vitas comment on that, since he's fully retired.
I'm going to let Barry comment on that.
I am really fully retired.
Haarhuis holds at love, and we're on serve.
I'd like to say a quick hello, if I could, to my wonderful wife at home who's watching, and my 3 children, if they're still awake. That, I believe, is the shot of the 90s right there, Barry. A high looping shot on a fast hard court that seems to be going out, but yet at the last moment seems to sneak right in there.
That was it. That looked out all the way.
I think the reason for that is that because the players are taller, they don't have to hit the ball as flat as Jimmy does. He's not as tall as they are. These guys can therefore play more percentage type tennis.
Would you rather play somebody, John, that hits the ball flatter than the topspin guys?
I'll answer that after this point. The answer is really obvious to me. It's whoever doesn't do it as well. I'd rather play a guy in topspin if he doesn't do it as well as the other guy that hits it flat. Same goes the other way. I mean, who wants to play Jimmy Connors when he's on a fast hard court? Or Jim Courier on clay when he's hitting the ball with such pace and topspin and his fitness level. Who would want to play a guy like that in the right mind? That was awfully close right there.
Oh, that was a close one, Venus.
Oh, I knew it. I think he heard you, John.
Holds, and it's 2-all in the third.
Down low. And a very weak lob by Paul Haarhuis.
I'll tell you what's amazing about that point was that every shot Haarhuis hit in that point, I think he was trying to get into net. And he just couldn't get into net.
It's the depth that Jimmy was hitting the ball, just kept him pinned in the back. Two beauties right in a row. Jimmy's been coming into net a heck of a lot more than we've seen him in the past, John.
He sure has. And Haarhuis needs to improve upon that percentage just a little bit. Obviously easier said than done up here once again, but he's got to come in on one of those big forehands and gain some confidence by putting away a couple of easy volleys, I think. And that's going to help him later on and the critical points later on in the match. But not on a shot like that, a low, flat ball. That was rushing things right there.
Do you think guys, John, have a tendency to overhit the approach shot against Connors?
There's no question about it. I mean, he hits the ball so great off the ground that they feel like they have to hit a great shot when they come in. And really, for the most part, they do have to hit a great shot, which is why it's so difficult to come in on them. I think Jimmy realizes how big a point that was. The other thing that scares players when they play Jimmy is what Vitas talked about earlier, the added element of Jimmy's improved volume. That wasn't something that players had to worry about 5-10 years ago. He wouldn't come in off many balls. Now, players feel the need to hit better and better shots.
Connor's trying to find some way to break. Now it's 30 all.
I think Teddy needs to get down a break before he can do that again. There's not enough drama right now to break.
It's interesting strategy. I think Jimmy's one of the few people that uses it.
The 15-30 point was so big. Haarhuis comes back with 2 big serves to hold. The match now entering its 3rd hour.
John, weren't you playing soccer in '73 in some high school around here in New York?
I was just bumming around in school. Ball boying, as a matter of fact, at the US Open when it was still at Forest Hills. Well, that was a strange-looking forehand by Haarhuis there. I think that was just a little bit of a case of nerves and tenderness, I guess.
Appears Connors is having some easier games on his serve.
Appears, Ted, that they're having easier games on both their serves. And I think that would favor Jimmy, because I think that when it gets towards the end of the set, I think his experience is going to pay off for him there. I don't think Haarhuis wants to get into another tiebreaker, for example.
John, don't you feel that Jimmy, he goes like 2-all, 3-all, there's a shot of that forehand by Paul Haarhuis. Jimmy driving it across court. Paul Haarhuis could not get the volley over the net. That Jimmy's just able to turn it up a notch at around 4-all in a set. He kind of lulls you into a certain rhythm, and all of a sudden he puts in 2 or 3 great returns and puts you back on the defensive.
Absolutely. He plays on their nerves. He plays on his experience. And he comes up with the goods for the most part, which is what amazing. That's what makes him what he is. There's very, very few guys that have ever done that. That can consistently turn up a notch when they need to.
8th ace by Haarhuis.
Now, Barry, I'm going to ask you this trivia question. If that ball had hit Jimmy Connors on that first serve, is that a let or is it Haarhuis's point right off the bat?
You know, I said that up at the Hamlet, and I was wrong. They play a let. Once that ball hits the net, it's a let. Thought you'd catch me, didn't you?
I thought I would, but you got me.
On serve still in the third. Easy, Vitas. Our last men's quarterfinal. Well, so far it's been what we hoped. Connors lost the first set, took the second in a tie break, but Haarhuis has held his serve very well, and we're on serve in the third set. John, I think Vitas is going to be lost beginning tomorrow night without that piece of pizza at about 9:30 every night.
I won't miss you guys, but I will miss the pizza man.
John, you're playing a long 5-set match. You play a few games on your own serve when you win it at Love. It really helps, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That's why I said earlier that I thought it favored Connors these quick service games, because down the road he's going to have more energy left. And I think mentally, the fact that Jimmy's winning so many easy points is disconcerting to Haarhuis. I don't think he expected that to happen.
Well, that is a shot you don't see Connors try very often.
Well, he sure picked the right time to try it, though.
40 Love.
Very good hop, and it's 4-all.
Connors with a two-hander, gets the high bounce. Haarhuis is going to make it now. He takes off quickly, but has to hit up on it, and Jimmy just eases it into the open court. That's a nice feeling when you see that ball sitting there with a wide open court.
The net cords of the U.S. Open are extremely tight. I think without question the tightest of any tournament throughout the year.
Right around this time when Jimmy's mind starts to work. Jimmy hits a nice forehand there, gets his body well into it. Then he sees the opportunity to take the ball in the air. Good deep volley. And then he gets a short, little overhead.
I was there, Venus! I was there!
Jeez.
He was there.
He's not going to be happy if he loses this game at this point, because Haarhuis did give him a second chance on that point.
And that would have given him love 30.
Set all, 4-all, love 30. Haarhuis should do that a few more times. Get some crowd support. That's not easy to do, by the way.
Now, Connors didn't get love 30, but he has 15-30.
Despite the fact that Jimmy missed that backhand in the previous point, he took something positive out of it, I believe, which is what's amazing about Jimmy. He realized that Haarhuis had given him his second chance and that he was tentative. And he took advantage of it the next point. Most players would be upset that they lost that previous point, whereas Jimmy somehow got something out of that, believe it or not.
He rationalizes that he's slowly inching in on his opponent.
Approach shot here just inside the sideline, well inside. Haarhuis gets his racket on it, but Connors again into the open court.
That was an incredible approach shot.
And Jimmy almost misjudged it. Haarhuis did well to get to it, had to pull it from behind his back.
Ooh, no call.
That's an ace. Connors can't believe it. Still a break point.
White base. White base.
Listen to this place. Connors will serve for the third set when we come back.
They want to know, Ted, how come I lost? That's a tough thing to explain to little children. They cannot believe it.
It's a tough thing to explain to big boys.
It's a tough thing to take.
Is Connors' game coming up a level here, or is Haarhuis struggling a bit?
I think it's a combination of both. I think Jimmy's coming up just at the right moment, and Haarhuis hasn't been in this position many times before, and he's feeling the pressure right now. And he's, without question, lost his composure right now. I don't know the exact point total, but he's barely won any points off Jimmy served the whole set.
This is the fifth service game of the set by Connors, and Haarhuis has won only 4 points.
First service.
I can't imagine what my brother's thinking right now. I mean, he unleashed a monster.
He certainly started the ball rolling, I'll tell you that.
You know, it was amazing because Jimmy played in the 4th and 5th sets against Patrick, John. He played better than he did in the first 3.
Oh, without question. But to give Patrick his due, he was playing great tennis the first 2.5 sets. Fabulous tennis. There seems to be a disturbance near the umpire's chair at this moment. What a time for that.
This is amazing.
Somebody causing a disturbance is going to be ejected, I believe.
I thought I saw Bob Uecker trying to get into the good seats down below, right in the front row.
Did any of you see the other day in baseball, I saw a replay of a fan who caught a ground rule double off the wall, which is by no means, I don't think, an illegal act, and they handcuffed him and escorted it out of the stadium.
Yeah, right. But if he catches a ball that's in play, they would.
That I find amazing.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah, they do. If you interfere with a ball and play in baseball, in fact, at Yankee Stadium, we think they still have some old medieval catacombs, dungeons down underneath. They take you down and strap you to the rack. On a triple set point.
Certainly didn't bother Jimmy.
I think it plays right into his game plan. 2 sets to 1.
That may have been a relative of Jimmy over there. If I get up 40 love, he says, go over there.
And scream at me. Amazing. Scream at me. But the greatest comedians in the world all have plants in the audience, don't they? They laugh at their straight lines.
God, I was thinking, what happens if someone kept a tennis ball in a tennis stand? You think that'd be a felony now? God, that would be a horrible act, wouldn't it?
At least a couple days on Rikers.
Now they're still trying to solve the problem behind the umpire's chair.
The way things are going, Jimmy will be able to commute. All sentences occurred here at Flushing Meadows during the Open.
That must either be Patty, Brett, or Aubrey Connors.
Basically, is that Haarhuis is ready to go ahead and play. He's not waiting for quiet.
On any net around the world, that would have gone over. But John's correct. Some of the tightest nets are here at Flushing Meadows.
I was going to ask you guys what you thought of that. The fact that should there be more uniformity in the net tightness?
You know, it sounds like it's a very trivial thing, but it makes a difference in it. There's a lot of critical points that play right off the net, especially Jimmy has such small margin for error the way he hits the ball.
But also, John, they're a lot different here because you got the singles permanent pull into the ground, and out on the outer courts you got single stakes. So there's a big difference, don't you think, between the outer courts and the stadium and the grandstand?
Without question, I think there should absolutely be more uniformity all around. It's not as if the USTA couldn't afford it, right?
Maybe they're looking for a consultant, John, for this new facility here.
But I think all these problems will be addressed at the new center. When they first built this, John, when we started playing here, whoever would believe that the turn would grow to this big of an event?
An ace for Haarhuis, that's number 10. Look how cleanly Connors played in the third set.
Jimmy broke a string on that point.
And Haarhuis holds his serve to start the fourth. Connors up 2-1.
These are new tennis balls, John. What do you think? You like to serve with new balls?
I like to serve with new balls. Gives you a little bit extra stick, a little more spin as well. But I'm not sure I'd like to be serving for the match suddenly for new balls. That's a little bit different situation. That's where your confidence level and your belief in yourself has to be really high, because then you may get that little bit tentative. I think it's like what Vita said earlier. Jimmy does seem to be controlling the pace of the point now, and that's not what Haarhuis wants. As well as the pace of the match, which is almost a given at this point.
And John, the only way to get Jimmy out of his rhythm is to really attack more, come into the net, and that's not Haarhuis' game.
It's not his game, but I'll tell you one thing. Jimmy's not really giving him much of a chance, because it looks to me like Haarhuis would like to come in right now. To say that Haarhuis is very worried right now is an understatement.
All fourth set.
Arthur Ashe calling his stockbroker.
Checking out tonight's scores. How much did Connors know, Vitas, about Haarhuis before this match? How much scouting does a player do now before a big match?
Well, the funny thing is there's so many good players around now. If you talk to some more of my contemporaries still playing the game, so they don't know a lot of the players playing the game. And I know he went around, asked some of the players, but I don't think he's ever really seen him play except maybe the one time when he played John here at the Open.
Had you seen him at all, John, when you played him here?
I'd never heard of him when I played him.
He was a qualifier that year.
That's when you're really scared.
I rest
when
my
you lose to a
case.
guy you never heard of. And this is the first time we've seen in the match Paul get a little down on himself. He's been pretty positive, and he's trying to play within himself as much as he could. But right now, he looks on the brink right here.
And didn't that give you a lift when you saw your opponent starting to get mad at himself?
It did give me a lift, but it happened to me so often that I almost, for me, it's a little bit different than the average player.
Sorry I asked.
Seemed today like Lendl did that to Stieck. Lendl sensed that in the fifth set. Now Connors with 3 break points.
I think that's a pretty good record for both of them, really.
Considering Stieck was 2 for 14 in his match against Lendl in break points.
This may be the biggest point of the match right here.
It's certainly the biggest point for Paul Haarhuis. Great volley. Great volley. Did he hit that cleanly? That's gutsy.
And he has saved 3 break points.
Haarhuis has got to be very upset with himself right now. He played a tremendous point the previous point and then came out and overhit that forehand.
He's come down the middle on almost all of the first serves on his break points. Breaks, and he's up 2-1 in the 4th. Haarhuis' percentage is staying right at 50%.
This is the lob John was talking about earlier. A high lob from Haarhuis, and Connors very smartly gets back, lets it drop. Now watch him. He just waits for Haarhuis to make his move and then hits it on the other side.
When Jimmy thinks he's hitting the ball well, he says, I'm hitting the ball firm. Well, you're not going to hit it any firmer than he's hitting it now. He jumps on every opportunity to get into the net, and he's just very firm on the volley. He's been to net 47 times. That's probably more than in the last couple of years.
The first 20 matches we played, he came to net that many times. He certainly is confident as he's been the whole match, hitting the ball as cleanly as he has the whole match, and can sense the kill. So it would be a tremendous victory for Haarhuis if he could come back from this point.
And John, when you said sense the kill, do you think Connors is one of the best closers in the game as far as closing?
In the history of the game. He's fully aware of what this means right now. He may hold serve and he's going to want another break.
Good looking lob. Jimmy committed himself. Had his body weight already towards the net. And Haarhuis just had to flick it over. It wasn't a particularly deep lob, but Jimmy had gone too far forward to get it.
But you know what? He didn't lunge for that ball. He just let it go. He knew he was beat, saved a little energy. Very smart.
It's all these subtle things that add up at the end of the match.
Connors in the fourth.
It just shows you how much confidence plays a part in tennis. Because that's another example where Jimmy probably took out of that previous point that Haarhuis had mishit the return. And somehow he got himself into the frame of mind of thinking, okay, if I do the same thing again, the odds of him doing a top spin lob winner or a fantastic passing shot are very, very small.
First service. Hot.
That's out. Love 15, and Linda Pence is in the seats alongside John Lloyd.
Well, John, you were with Jimmy Connors all summer as the coach and also fellow player on the team tennis Los Angeles Strings. Did you see anything at all to indicate that you would now be seeing him close to reaching the semifinals of the US Open?
Well, it was tough to think of that at that stage of the season, but I mean, the bottom line is nothing should ever surprise you about Jimmy Connors. I mean, this week has proved it. I mean, it's just incredible. But he played great in team tennis, and now he's playing better and better.
Now, I know you're a couple of years younger than him, but nevertheless, can you relate at all to the effort that's being put out here physically by Jimmy Connors at 39?
No, I can't. It pains me to think of going out there and playing 4.5 hours at my age, and he's 2 years older than me. I mean, it's just amazing. I don't know how he keeps on doing it day after day. It's just mind-boggling.
Now, I know you've seen quite a few great matches. How do they compare to the crowd that we've seen here this week watching Jimmy?
Well, I mean, this is a great match as well. I mean, he's played already two of the greatest matches, in my opinion, of all time. And here he is here. For a set and a half, he looked like, you know, this Haarhuis looked like there was no way that he was going to allow Jimmy into the game, and Jimmy kept plugging away, and sure enough, and now he's completely lost his composure, and Jimmy's on top again. He does it every match.
Okay, John, thanks so much. Let's go back upstairs.
Thank you, Linda.
And you know, John, you said it. He's got a chance for another break here. He is not content with one service break.
I'll tell you right now, it will be a Haarhuis miracle if he comes back from this point.
First service.
Everybody can sense it as Connors closes in on the semis.
Is Jimmy and Paul going to have to bow to her as they leave?
It may be a near impossible task trying to get this place settled down the next couple of games. Connors serving at 4-1 in the fourth.
I'll tell you one thing, as well as Jim Curry has been playing this year, I bet he's starting to sweat a little bit right now. Because I personally feel he would have preferred, purely on a tennis level, obviously, to play Haarhuis in the semifinals as opposed to Jimmy. Jimmy's going to pull every trick imaginable against him. And he's going to have to be ready, which I think he will be. But the tension is now starting to begin.
Just think, John, you watch this and think this could be you in 7 years.
Yeah, I could take 6, 7 years off. I think I feel a little bit, unfortunately, more like the way John Lloyd feels. The effort that it takes is just unbelievable.
Another look here as the Connors forehand comes to life. Cross court. Clean winner.
I'll tell you one thing, you can't help but be inspired by watching this, though. My juices are flowing right now. I'm ready to start training.
How about you, Vitas?
Let's go for a run, John, right after the match.
Right after the match. Let's go.
Hey, Ted, let's go run a little bit, huh?
Oh, Connors is seeing the ball like a basketball.
This is one of those moments in sport, it happens very rarely, where you feel privileged to be able to witness an athletic occasion. And what Connors is doing here will be burned in the memories of everyone for a long, long time.
You know what's amazing, Barry, is that he's probably not satisfied with 2 breaks right now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to win this game, but he wants to finish it right now.
He'd love to. He's got it all going. The momentum's totally flowing his way.
In his mind, he'll be upset if he loses this game at this stage.
Yeah, he was going to come in behind that ball.
He needed to work on a couple more things for Saturday.
Haarhuis holds his serve at low. But we will come back with this place rocking as Connors will serve for the match. Jimmy Connors serving to be a semifinalist at the US Open.
This may be the best he's hit his forehand, John, in a long time.
That's the first time I've seen him hit the inside-out one today. He's doing everything now, anything he wants.
He's won only 9 matches all year coming into the Open. He's trying now to close out his 5th in 10 days.
What do you think he's thinking right now, Vitas?
Why am I here?
I think he's happy to be here, and he should be proud of his accomplishment. But this is what separates the men from the boys.
Connors is showing he's still a man.
Paul Haarhuis would have beaten a lot of players today. So he has nothing to be ashamed about.
First time he's ever been in the quarterfinals of a Grand Slam.
Well, it's like we've all said before, it's never easy to finish it off. And even Jimmy's feeling it right now a little bit.
Haarhuis is irate over the serve. He felt the serve was out. But it's match point for Connors.
This is not going to be a popular appeal.
How far did you think so?
This is like the Mets with 2 strikes and 2 outs in the 9th inning to win the World Series for the New Yorkers. Years and 3 days, and Jimmy Connors is a semi-finalist at the US Open.